March 24th, 1903, Volume 5. Though being nothing, one can be everything while being with Jesus. This morning, after I had gone through most bitter days, blessed Jesus came and spent time with me intimately, so much so that I thought I would possess him forever. But all of a sudden he disappeared like a flash. Who can say my pain? I felt I was going insane. More so since I was almost sure that I was not going to lose him any more. Now, while I was being consumed with pains, he came back like a flash, and with sonorous and serious voice he told me, "Who are you to expect to be always with me?" And I, insane as I was, all daring, answered, "I am everything while being with you. I feel I am nothing but a will come out of the womb of my Creator, and as long as this will is united with you, it feels life, existence, peace, all of its good. Without you, I feel it without life. I feel I am being destroyed. I feel dispersed, restless. I can say I experience all evils. And in order to have life, and so that I may not be dispersed, this will that came out from you looks for your womb, your center, and there it wants to remain forever." Jesus seemed to be all moved, but then he repeated again, "But who are you?" And I, "Lord, I am nothing but a drop of water, and as long as this drop of water is in your sea, it seems to it that it is the whole sea. If it does not go out of the sea, it remains clean and clear, in such a way as to be able to stand the comparison with other waters. But if it goes out of the sea, it will become muddy, and because of its littleness, it will be dispersed." All moved, he bent down toward me, and embracing me, told me, "My daughter, one who wants to be always in my will, keeps my very person within himself. And even if he can go out of my will, since I created him free in his will, my power operates a prodigy by administering to him continuously the participation in divine life. Because of this participation he receives, he feels such strength and attraction of union with my divine will that even if he wanted to go out of it, he could not do it. This is the continuous virtue that comes out of me toward one who always does my will, about which I spoke to you the other day." March 24th, 1911, Volume 10, The Soul Prays for the Needs of the Church. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus came, and as I prayed to him for certain needs of the Church and for a certain bee who has given books of hell for publishing, he told me, "My daughter, he did nothing but throw himself even more into the mud. Any mind of healthy reason will see immediately how cretinous he is, and how I have caused him to hallucinate, not placing any true force of reason in what he affirms. I do not want priests to bother reading it. If they do, they will render themselves too vile, and will descend from their dignity, as though wanting to pay attention to the nonsense of a child, and therefore giving him the field to do more nonsense. But by not bothering about him and not paying attention to him, they will at least give him the sorrow that no one pays attention to what he does, and that no one appreciates him. They will answer with the worthy works of their ministry. This is the most beautiful answer. Ah, to him, then, it will happen that he will fall into the very trap he is preparing for others." March 24th, 1913, Volume 11, Any Discontent is a Fruit of the Human Will. The celestial Mama was filled with Jesus through her constant thinking of his passion. I was feeling a certain discontent because of the privations of my always adorable Jesus, when he came and told me, "My daughter, what are you doing?" "I am the contentment of contentments." As I am in you, and I feel some discontents, I recognize that they come from you. and therefore I do not recognize myself completely in you, because discontents are part of the human nature, not of the divine. While it is my will that what is human no longer exist in you, only my divine life. I add that I was thinking to myself about the sweet mamma, and Jesus told me, "My daughter, the thought of my passion never escaped my dear mamma, and by dint of repeating it, she was completely filled with me. The same happens to the soul. By dint of repeating what I suffered, she arrives at filling herself completely with me." March 24th, 1914, Volume 11. One who lives in the divine volition becomes like another humanity of Jesus, the organ of the divine will. Continuing in my usual state, I was lamenting with Jesus who had not come yet. Finally, he came and told me, "My daughter, my will hides my very humanity within itself. This is why sometimes I hide my humanity from you as I speak to you about my will. You feel surrounded by light. You can hear my voice but cannot see me, because my will absorbs my humanity within itself, since my humanity has its limits, while my will is eternal and without limits. In fact, when my humanity was on earth, it did not cover all places, all times, or all circumstances. However, my interminable will compensated for it, and arrived where my humanity could not reach. So when I find souls who live completely from my will, they compensate for my humanity, for the times, for the places, the circumstances, and even for the sufferings, because they live in my will, and therefore I can use them just as I used my humanity. What was my humanity if not the organ of my will? Such are those who do my will. March 24th, 1922, Volume 14. With their acts, the souls who live in the divine will substitute for the multiplication of the sacramental life of Jesus. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus on coming told me, "My daughter, as the soul emits her acts in my will, she multiplies my life. So if she does 10 acts in my will, she multiplies me 10 times. If she does 20, 100, 1,000 and more acts, as many times do I remain multiplied. It happens as in the sacramental consecration. As many hosts as they place, so many times I remain multiplied. The difference which exists is that in the sacramental consecration, I need the hosts in order to multiply myself, and the priest who consecrates me. While in my will, in order to be multiplied, I need the acts of the creature, in which my will consecrates me and encloses me more than in a living host, not a dead one, like those hosts before my consecration. So I am multiplied in each one of her acts done in my will. And therefore my love has its complete outpouring with the souls who do my will and live in my volition. These are the ones who always compensate, not only for all the acts that creatures owe me, but for my very sacramental life. How many times my sacramental life remains obstructed in the few hosts in which I remain consecrated, because few are the communicants. Other times there are no priests to consecrate me, and not only is my sacramental life not multiplied as much as I would like, but it remains without existence. Oh, how my love suffers! I would like to multiply my life every day into as many hosts for as many existing creatures, and give myself to them. But I wait in vain. My will remains without effect. However, all I have decided will have its fulfillment, so I take another way, and I multiply myself in every living act of creature done in my will, to have them substitute for the multiplication of my sacramental life. Ah, yes, only the souls who live in my will substitute for all the communions that creatures do not do, for all the consecrations that priests do not do. In them I will find everything, even the multiplication of my sacramental life. Therefore I repeat to you, your mission is great. I could not choose you for a higher, more noble, sublime, and divine mission. There is nothing that I will not centralize in you, even the multiplication of my own life. I will make new prodigies of grace never done before. So I beg you, be attentive, be faithful to me. Let my will always have life in you, and I will find in you, in my own will, the work of creation as fully completed, with my full rights and everything I want. March 24th, 1930, Volume 28. The creature is nothing other than the effect of the reflections of God. Love of God in creating him. Firmness in repeating the same acts forms in the soul the life of the good that she wants. I was doing the round in the divine Fiat to follow all of its acts, and as I arrived at Eden, I comprehended and admired the magnanimous act of God, and his exuberant and overflowing love in the creation of man. And my always lovable Jesus, unable to contain his flames, told me, "My daughter, our love was so infatuated in the act in which we created man, that we did nothing other than reflect ourselves upon him, so that he might be a work worthy of our creative hands. And as our reflections were pouring upon him, so was the intelligence, the sight, the hearing, the word, the beating in the heart, the motion to the hands, the step to the feet, infused in him. Our divine being is most pure spirit, and therefore we do not have senses. In the wholeness of all our divine being, we are most pure and inaccessible light. This light is I, is hearing, is word, is work, is step. This light does everything, looks at everything, hears everything, is present everywhere. No one can escape from underneath the empire of our light. Therefore, while we were creating man, our love was so great that our light, carrying our reflections over him, molded him. And in molding him, it brought to him the effects of the reflections of God. See, then, my daughter, with how much love was man created, to the point that our divine being melted in reflections upon him, to communicate to him our image and likeness. Could greater love be given? Yet he used our reflections to offend us, while he was to use our reflections as the means to come to us. And with the reflections given by us, say to us, "How beautiful your love created me, and I, in return, love you. I will love you always, and I want to live in the light of your divine will." Then I continued to follow the acts in the divine Fiat, and I thought to myself, I am always back to the start, always repeating the long story of my acts in the divine volition, the long sing-song of my I love you. But what are the effects of it? Oh, if I could obtain that the divine will be known and reign upon earth, at least it would be for me so much the better. But while I was thinking of this, my beloved Jesus clasped me to his divine heart and told me, "My daughter, firmness in asking forms the life of the good that is asked for. It disposes the soul to receive the good that she wants, and moves God to give the gift that is asked for. More so since, with the many repeated acts and prayers that she has done, she has formed within herself the life, the exercise, the habit of the good that she asks for. God, won by the firmness of her asking, will give her the gift, and finding in the creature, by virtue of her repeated act, as though a life of the gift that he is giving her, he will convert the good asked for into her nature, in such a way that the creature will feel herself as the possessor and victorious in feeling transformed into the gift she has received. Therefore, your asking incessantly for the kingdom of my divine will forms in you its life, and your continuous I love you forms in you the life of my love. And since I have given you the gift of both one and the other, you feel within yourself as if your nature felt nothing other than the vivifying virtue of my will and of my love. Firmness in asking is the assurance that the gift is yours, and asking for the kingdom of my divine will for all is the prelude that others can receive the great gift of my supreme fiat. Therefore continue to repeat, and do not tire. End of March 24th. Fiat.